The sky turned dark at noon, not from clouds but from something worse. Giant ships blocked the sun as they entered Earth's atmosphere. This was how humanity first met the Voidborn. Commander Jun Kim stood on the roof of the Korean Space Defense Initiative headquarters. His eyes were wide with fear and wonder. The alien ships were huge. They looked like black metal mountains floating in the air. "Sir, we need to get inside," said a young officer beside him. "Our systems are picking up energy buildups in those ships." Jun nodded and ran back toward the door. The first explosion hit before he reached it. The blast threw him against the wall. His ears rang. When he stood up, he saw Seoul burning. "Get everyone to the emergency bunker," he ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "And contact any military forces still responding." Inside the command center, chaos ruled. Screens showed the same scene playing out across the world. Paris, New York, Beijing, all under attack. Earth's defense systems fired back, but their best weapons seemed weak against the alien ships. "Our missiles aren't even denting their shields," reported the weapons officer. "It's like throwing rocks at a tank." Jun watched as another explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered. "We need to abandon the headquarters. Get everyone to the underground shelters." 10 kilometers away, Dr. Hyun Park felt her laboratory shake. Books fell from shelves. Equipment crashed to the floor. She grabbed her research tablet as glass shattered around her. "Everyone out now," she shouted to her team. "Take the emergency exit to the underground parking lot." Ha-Yun was a physicist who studied sound waves. For years, her work on sonic manipulation had been ignored by other scientists. They called it useless. Now, as she helped her assistants into the stairwell, alarms blared throughout the building. They reached the parking lot just as the main laboratory building collapsed. Ha-Yun counted her team. 3 were missing. There was no time to look for them. "We need to find somewhere safe," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "The city center will be the main target. We should head into the countryside." As they walked away from the ruins of the lab, Ha-Eun noticed something strange on her tablet. It was still running her latest experiment. The screen showed unusual energy patterns, quantum frequencies that didn't match anything she had seen before, except they did match something. They matched the strange signals her equipment had detected just before the attack began. In another part of the city, Major Tai Ho Baek led his soldiers through burning streets. They had been training at a base outside Seoul when the attack started. Now they were trying to help civilians escape. "This way," he shouted to a group of frightened people. "Follow us to the emergency shelters." A woman carrying a child stumbled. Taeho caught them before they fell. "Stay close," he told her. Above them, a smaller alien ship flew low over the buildings. Taeho and his soldiers raised their weapons, but the ship moved on without attacking. "Why didn't it see us?" asked one of his soldiers. Taeho had no answer, but they were alive, and that was what mattered. Night fell over the destroyed city. Ha-Yun and her remaining team members found shelter in an abandoned subway station. Her tablet's battery was running low, but she couldn't stop studying the strange readings. "These signals," she whispered to herself. "They're not random. They're communication." The ground above them shook as more explosions hit, but something was protecting them. Her equipment was still running the sonic dampening field experiment she had started that morning. The field created a bubble where certain sound waves couldn't enter or leave. Ha-Yun's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "The aliens use quantum frequencies to communicate and scan for life forms," she said to her team. "And our dampening field is blocking those frequencies." "You mean they can't detect us?" asked her assistant. "I think so," Ha-Eun replied, "and that gives us a chance." Taeho and his group of survivors moved through dark streets. They had 43 civilians with them now, including children. Finding safe shelter was getting harder. Most buildings were either destroyed or unstable. "Major, there's a subway entrance ahead," said one of his soldiers. "We could go underground." Taeho nodded. "Good idea. It will provide cover from air attacks." They led the group down the stairs. The tunnel was dark. They used flashlights to guide their way. After walking for 20 minutes, they saw light ahead. "Careful," Taeho warned. "It could be anyone." He approached slowly, weapon ready. But instead of enemies, he found more survivors. Among them was a woman working on some kind of electronic device. "Who's in charge here?" he asked. The woman looked up. "I suppose I am. Dr. Ha-Yun Park. And you are?" "Major Tae-ho Baik, Korean Army," he replied. "We have civilians who need shelter." Ha-Yun nodded. "There's room here, but more importantly, I may know how to hide from the aliens." She explained her discovery about the sonic dampening field. Tae-ho listened carefully, then told her about the alien ship that had passed over them without attacking. "You must have been in an area affected by something similar," Ha-Yun said. "Maybe there are natural spots where their detection doesn't work well." Or what?" Tae-ho asked. "Or you were near another dampening field," she said. "Which means someone else might have figured this out too." As they talked, Commander Jun Kim and 12 survivors from the military headquarters entered the subway station. They had been moving from shelter to shelter as each one was discovered and destroyed. By the aliens, Jun looked exhausted. His uniform was torn and dirty, but his eyes were still sharp and focused. "Commander Kim," Tae-ho said, standing at attention despite everything. "At ease, Major," Jun replied. "Rank doesn't mean much today." Ha-Yun approached them. "Commander, I believe I know why the aliens can find our shelters so easily, and I might know how to hide from them." Jun listened as Ha-Yun explained her theory. For the first time since the attack began, he felt a small spark of hope. "If you're right," he said, "this could save what's left of humanity." "It's just a theory right now," Ha-Yun cautioned. "I need equipment to test it properly." "Tell me what you need," Jun said. "If it exists in what's left of Seoul, we'll find it." As the survivors settled in for the night, Jun, Ha-Yun, and Tae-ho sat together, planning their next move. Outside, the world they knew was ending. But in that dark subway tunnel, something new was beginning. The first step toward humanity's fight back. The first glimpse of how silence would mark the end of an alien threat. 6 months passed since the day the Voidborn came to Earth. Most of the world lay in ruins. Cities that once glowed bright at night were now dark and empty. The aliens had built huge mining structures where famous landmarks once stood. But humans still lived. They hid in the shadows. They fought when they could. And deep in the mountains of what was once North Korea, they built a place called Sanctuary. Colonel Jun Kim stood at the entrance of the main cave. He had been a commander before. Now he led the largest group of survivors in Asia. More than 10,000 people lived in the tunnels and caves of Sanctuary. Some were soldiers, most were not. "Colonel Dr. Park wants to see you," said a young soldier. "She says it's important." Jun nodded. "I'll go right away." The tunnels of Sanctuary were lit by strings of small lights powered by hidden generators. People moved with purpose here. Some carried food, others worked on weapons. Children ran between groups of adults, somehow still finding ways to play despite everything. Dr. Ha-Yun Park's laboratory was in the deepest part of the cave system. Here, she and 20 other scientists worked day and night on what they called Project Silence. "You wanted to see me," Jun said as he entered the lab. Ha-Yun looked up from her work. Dark circles showed under her eyes. She rarely slept more than 4 hours a night. "We've made progress," she said, waving him over to a table covered with devices. "The portable silence generators are ready for testing." Jun picked up one of the devices. It looked like a small metal box with a few buttons. "This can create the dampening field?" "Yes, but only for a limited area," Ha-Yun explained. "About 20 meters in any direction, and the battery only lasts 8 hours. "It's enough," Jun said. "Major Beck's teams can use these for raids." Major Tae-ho Beck had become the leader of the ghost teams. These were special soldiers who went out to gather supplies and information. They also attacked small void-born outposts when possible. "I want to be there when you show these to him," Ha-Yun said. Jun smiled. It was small but genuine. "Of course, this is your creation." The meeting room was simple. Just a cave with a table made from scrap metal. Maps covered one wall. Taeho stood looking at one when June and Ha-Yun entered. "Major, Dr. Park has something for your ghost teams," June said. Taeho turned. His face had a new scar running from his eye to his jaw. "Let me guess, the portable generators are ready?" Ha-Yun placed one on the table. "Yes, we have 12 working units. With these, your teams can move undetected by the voidborne sensors." Taeho picked up the device, studying. "When can we test them?" "Tomorrow," June said. "I want you to take a team to the old city of Pyongyang. Our scouts say there's a small voidborne outpost there. Observe only, do not engage." Taeho nodded. "Who's coming with me?" "I am," Ha-Yun said quickly. Both men looked at her with surprise. "Need to see how the generators work in the field," she explained. "And if there are problems, I can fix them." June started to object but stopped. Ha-Yun was right, and she had proven many times that she was brave enough. "Fine," he said, "but you follow Major Beck's orders at all times." The next morning, Taeho's team prepared for the mission. There were 8 of them, 6 soldiers, Ha-Yun, and Taeho. They wore dark clothes and carried only essential equipment. Ha-Yun checked each silence generator carefully. "Remember, the field extends 20 meters. Stay close together." They left Sanctuary through a hidden tunnel that opened into a forested valley. The day was clear and cool. Birds sang in the trees as if the world hadn't changed. The team traveled on foot. The old city was 30 kilometers away. They moved carefully, avoiding open areas. When they rested, Ha-Yun studied her tablet. It showed the quantum frequencies the Voidborn used. "They're always talking," she said quietly to Taeho. "Their ships, their soldiers, even their buildings, all sending signals back and forth." "And our generators block those signals?" Taeho asked. "They create a bubble where the frequencies can't enter or leave," Ha-Yun explained. "To them, it's like we don't exist." They reached the outskirts of Pyongyang by late afternoon. Once a showpiece capital, the city was now partly destroyed. But in the center, the aliens had built something new. It was a tall metal structure that glowed with a strange blue light. "What is that?" whispered one of the soldiers. "Some kind of communication tower," Ha-Yun said, checking her tablet. "It's sending huge amounts of data into space." Taeho signaled the team to move closer. They activated their silence generators and approached the alien structure. Nothing tried to stop them. No alarm sounded. The generators were working. They found a building with a good view of the alien tower and set up observation posts. Ha-Yun recorded data while the soldiers watched for patrols. "Look," Taeho said suddenly, pointing to a side street. "Voidborn soldiers." 3 alien figures moved along the street. They were tall and thin. Their skin was pale blue. They wore no visible armor but carried weapons that looked like curved metal rods. One of the aliens stopped suddenly. It turned, its head looking directly at the building where the humans hid. For a moment, Ha-Yun thought it had seen them, but then it turned away and continued walking. "The generators are working perfectly," she whispered, relief in her voice. As the team prepared to leave, they heard a strange sound. It was like metal being torn apart. They looked out to see a voidborne ship crash into a building 2 blocks away. "What happened?" Taeho asked. Ha-Yun checked her tablet. "It's damaged, and there might be survivors." Taeho shook his head. "Our orders are to observe only. This is an opportunity we might never get again," Ha-Yun argued. "A chance to capture a voidborn, to study it." Taeho hesitated, then nodded. "We'll check it out, but at the first sign of danger we leave." They approached the crash site carefully. The ship had hit the top floors of an old apartment building. Parts of it hung down into the street. Inside the wreckage, they found one surviving voidborn. It was badly injured. Blue fluid leaked from wounds on its chest and leg. "We need to take it back to Sanctuary," Ha-Yun said. "It's too dangerous," one of the soldiers objected. "If it's unconscious and within our silence field, it can't communicate with others," Ha-Yun said. "This is our chance to learn their weaknesses." After a brief argument, they decided to bring the alien back. They made a stretcher and placed the unconscious voidborn on it. The journey back was slow and tense. Every noise made them freeze. When they finally reached Sanctuary, many people were angry about bringing an alien into their safe place. But June supported Ha-un's decision. If we want to win this war, we need to know our enemy, he told the crowd that gathered. The Voidborn was placed in a secure room deep in the cave system. Ha-un began her study immediately. 3 days later, she called June and Taeho to her lab. I've made an important discovery, she said, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. The Voidborn don't just use quantum frequencies for communication. Their entire nervous system operates on the same principles. What does that mean? June asked. It means, Ha-un said, that we can do more than hide from them. We can hurt them, maybe even kill them, with sound. Taeho and June exchanged looks. For the first time since the invasion, they felt real hope. Tell us more, June said. And in that moment, the tide of war began to turn. The alarm sounded at 3 in the morning. Red lights flashed through the tunnels of Sanctuary. People jumped from their beds, grabbing emergency packs they kept ready. This is not a drill, said a voice over the speakers. All civilians to the deep shelters. All defense teams to your stations. Colonel June Kim rushed to the command center, a small room filled with screens and radio equipment. Major Taeho Baek was already there, his face grim. How did they find us? June asked. Unknown, sir, Taeho replied. But our outer sensors picked up 3 large ships heading this way. June studied the radar screen. The Voidborn ships would reach Sanctuary in less than an hour. Begin evacuation plan Delta, he ordered. Get the civilians to the secondary site. How many ghost teams are ready? 4 teams, sir, 27 operatives. Not enough, June said. But it will have to do. I want them to delay the Voidborn as long as possible. In her laboratory, Dr. Ha-un Park worked frantically. For weeks, she had been developing a new weapon based on her discoveries about the Voidborn nervous system. She called it the Harmony Disruptor. A young woman named Suji Choi worked beside her. Before the invasion, Suji had been a concert pianist. Now she used her understanding of sound and harmony to help create weapons. Will it work? Suji asked, connecting wires to a large metal device. In theory, yes, Ha-un replied. But we've never tested it at full power. The door opened and June entered. How close are you to finishing? We need another hour, Ha-un said. Maybe 2. We don't have 2 hours, June said. The Voidborn will be here in 45 minutes. Ha-un looked at her work, then at June. Go with the evacuation. Suji and I will stay to finish this. If it works, it could disable every Voidborn within 5 kilometers. I'm not leaving you behind, June said. You have to, Ha-un insisted. 10,000 people depend on you. I need maybe 20 volunteers to stay with me. The rest should go. June wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. As a leader, his duty was to the majority. I'll find your volunteers. Outside the mountain, Taeho led his ghost teams into position. Each soldier carried a silence generator and weapons. They hid among the rocks and trees, waiting. Remember, hit and move, Taeho told them over the radio. Use the silence fields to disappear, then reappear somewhere else. Confuse them as long as you can. The Voidborn ships appeared on the horizon. They were smaller than the massive vessels that had first attacked Earth but still large enough to carry hundreds of alien soldiers. Team 1 ready, Taeho said into his radio. Team 2, ready? Team 2, ready, came the response. Team 3, ready. Team 4, ready. Wait for them to land, Taeho ordered. Then execute Plan Ghost Dance. Inside Sanctuary, the evacuation moved quickly. People had practiced many times. They knew exactly what to do and where to go. The tunnels that led to the secondary site were narrow, but everyone moved in an orderly way. In the laboratory, Ha-un found herself with 15 volunteers. Among them was Minho Kang, an engineer who had lost his children during the initial invasion. What do you need us to do? Minho asked. Help us finish building this, Ha-un said, pointing to the Harmony Disruptor. Then we need to move it to the north entrance. It needs to be as close to the Voidborn as possible. As they worked, Suji played a recording of void-born communication sounds. "I've isolated the frequencies that cause them the most distress," she explained. "We'll use these as the base for our attack." The first void-born ship landed in a clearing 2 kilometers from Sanctuary's main entrance. Alien soldiers poured out, tall and blue-skinned. They carried their curved weapons and moved with strange grace. Tejo watched through binoculars. "Team 2, you're up first," he said into his radio. "Remember, shoot and move. Don't stay visible for more than 10 seconds. Team 2 attacked from the east. Their weapons fired and 3 void-born fell. Then the humans activated their silence generators and seemed to vanish. The aliens looked around in confusion. "Team 4, your turn," Tejo ordered. From the west, more shots rang out. More void-born fell. Again, the humans disappeared before the aliens could find them. Back in Sanctuary, most civilians had evacuated. Colonel June supervised the last groups. "Sir, the last civilians are clear," reported an officer. "Only the volunteer team remains." June nodded. "Good. Prepare my transport." The officer looked surprised. "You're not going with the main group?" "No," June said. "I'll join the rear guard. Make sure everyone else gets away safely." Outside, the ghost teams continued their hit-and-run attacks, but the Voidborn were adapting. They began firing their weapons in wide patterns, trying to hit invisible enemies. "Team 3, fall back," Tejo ordered as he saw 3 of his soldiers fall. "Team 1, provide covering fire." The ghost teams had delayed the aliens for 30 minutes. But now the Voidborn were getting too close to Sanctuary's entrance, and 2 more ships had landed, bringing reinforcements. In the laboratory, Ha-Un and her team finished the Harmony Disruptor. It was the size of a small car with speakers and antennas pointing in all directions. "We need to move it now," Ha-Un said. They pushed the device through the tunnels toward the north entrance. It was heavy and difficult to move, but they managed. As they reached the entrance, they heard fighting outside. The ghost teams were being pushed back. "Set it up here," Ha-Un ordered. "Suji, begin the calibration." Suji connected her tablet to the device and started adjusting settings. "It's ready," she said after a few minutes. "But once we activate it, there's no stopping it. And we don't know exactly what will happen." "We know it will hurt the Voidborn," Ha-Un said. "That's enough." Tejo's voice came over the radio. "We can't hold them much longer. There are too many." Ha-Un looked at the volunteers. "Everyone put on the special headsets. They should protect you from the worst effects." The headsets were designed to block the harmful frequencies that the disruptor would produce. Without them, even humans might be hurt by the sound. "Colonel, are you clear?" Ha-Un asked over the radio. "Almost," June replied. "Give us 5 more minutes." Outside, Tejo saw a group of Voidborn approaching the entrance where Ha-Un's team was setting up. "Team 1, with me," he ordered. "We need to buy them more time." His remaining soldiers followed him as he ran toward the aliens. They fired their weapons and shouted to draw attention away from the entrance. The plan worked. The Voidborn turned toward them. But there were too many aliens. Tejo saw 3 more of his soldiers fall. "Fall back," he ordered. "Get to the secondary site." Inside, Ha-Un couldn't wait any longer. "Everyone ready?" she asked. The volunteers nodded, their headsets in place. "Colonel, we're activating now," Ha-Un said into her radio. "I'm sorry we couldn't wait." "Do it," June replied. "We'll manage." Suji pressed the activation button on her tablet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Harmony Disruptor began to hum. The sound grew louder, though it wasn't exactly a sound that could be heard with ears. It was more like a feeling, a vibration that went through everything. Outside, the effect was immediate. The Voidborn soldiers stopped moving. They dropped their weapons. Some fell to the ground. Others stood frozen, as if turned to stone. Tejo watched in amazement. "It's working," he said into his radio. "The aliens are down." Inside, Ha-Un monitored the device. "Power level stable," she reported. "Frequency output optimal." The disruptor continued to hum. Its effect spread outward like a wave. When it reached the Voidborn ships, they began to shake. Systems failed. engines died. "Look!" shouted one of the volunteers, pointing outside. The nearest void-borne ship was falling from the sky. It crashed into the forest with a thunderous boom. The second ship followed, then the third. "We did it," Suji said, her voice filled with wonder. "We actually did it." Ha-Yun nodded, but she knew this was just the beginning. "This is only a small victory," she said, "but now we know it works. Now we can build something bigger." She looked at her team of volunteers. "Now we have a real chance." 1 year had passed since the first Harmony disruptor had saved Sanctuary. The world was different now. Humanity fought back. They were no longer just hiding and surviving. They were winning battles. General June Kim stood on the deck of the Nautilus, a massive floating city hidden in the Pacific Ocean. Once it had been an aircraft carrier. Now it was the headquarters of the United Earth Defense Force. From here, June led what remained of humanity. "General, Dr. Park is ready to show you the new developments," said a young officer. June nodded and followed the officer below deck. The Nautilus housed over 5,000 people. Some were soldiers, others were scientists, engineers, and civilians who kept everything running. Dr. Ha-Yun Park's laboratory took up an entire level of the ship. When June entered, he found Ha-Yun and Suji Choi working with a team of 30 scientists. "You wanted to see me," June said. Ha-Yun looked up from her work. She looked tired but excited. "Yes, we've finished the symphony suits." She pointed to what looked like body armor hanging on a rack. But this armor was different. It had small devices attached to it at various points. "Each suit generates its own silence field," Ha-Yun explained, "and it can also project harmful frequencies toward any void-born within range." "How many do we have?" June asked. 50 complete suits," Suji answered. "Another 100 in production." June picked up one of the suits. It was lighter than it looked. "Brigadier Bayek will be pleased. His ghost teams have been asking for these." Taeho Beck had been promoted to brigadier. He now commanded all Special Forces operations worldwide. His ghost teams had grown from the original 4 to over 20 teams operating on every continent. "There's more," Ha-Yun said. "Show him, Suji." Suji pressed a button on her tablet. A large screen lit up showing a map of the world. Red dots marked void-born strongholds. Blue dots showed human resistance bases. "We've identified the main void-born power stations," Suji said. "They're using Earth's geothermal energy to power their operations. If we can disable these stations, we can cripple their ability to communicate with their homeworld. And that's important because," June prompted. "Because we believe they're calling for reinforcements," Ha-Yun said. "Our latest intelligence suggests their mining operation is behind schedule. They need more ships, more soldiers." June studied the map. "So we target the power stations. Can the Harmony disruptors affect them?" "Yes, but we need something bigger than what we've been using," Ha-Yun said. "We need to build massive disruptors at key locations around the world, and we need to activate them all at the same time." "A global attack," June said thoughtfully. "We've never attempted anything on that scale." "It's time we did," Ha-Yun replied. "We're calling it Operation Final Symphony." Later that day, Brigadier Taeho Bayek arrived on the Nautilus. His helicopter landed on the deck as the sun was setting. Taeho had just returned from a mission to rescue scientists from a void-born research facility in what was once Australia. June met him as he climbed out of the helicopter. "How did it go?" "We got the scientists out," Taeho said, "but we lost 3 good soldiers." June nodded grimly. Every victory came at a cost. "The scientists. Were they able to bring their research?" "Yes. And you need to see it right away. It's not good news." They walked to the briefing room where the rescued scientists waited. Dr. Minji Lee, a geologist, stood as they entered. "General Kim, thank you for the rescue," she said. "I only wish we had better news to share." "Tell me everything," June said. Minji pointed to a screen showing geological scans. "The Voidborn aren't just invaders. They're miners. They're here for minerals in Earth's core that are essential for their quantum technology." "We suspected as much," June said. "But why is this urgent news?" Because they're getting desperate, Minji explained. Their initial surveys were wrong. The minerals are deeper than they thought. They're planning to use weapons that will crack the Earth's crust to reach them. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Such weapons would cause earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis worldwide. Millions more would die. How long do we have? June asked. 3 months, maybe 4, Minji replied. They're bringing the weapons in from their home system. June turned to Taeho. We need to move up the timeline for Operation Final Symphony. Get your teams ready for worldwide deployment. There's one more thing, General, said another scientist. He was holding a small container. Inside was what looked like a piece of blue metal. We found this in the research facility. It's a new type of void-borne technology. Ha-eun, who had joined them, took the container. What is it? It's a neural adapter, the scientist explained. The void-borne are attempting to modify their own nervous systems to resist your sonic weapons. Ha-eun examined the device closely. They're evolving, adapting to our attacks. Can they succeed? June asked. Eventually, yes, Ha-eun admitted. This is still a prototype, but given enough time, they could make their entire force immune to our current frequencies. Then we don't give them time, Taeho said firmly. We strike now, with everything we have. The next weeks were a blur of activity. The Nautilus traveled to new locations every few days to avoid detection. Ghost teams were dispatched to all continents with parts to build the massive harmony disruptors needed for Operation Final Symphony. Ha-eun and Suji worked day and night to adjust their weapons to counter the void-borne adaptations. They created new frequencies that would affect even the modified aliens. The power requirements are enormous, Ha-eun told June during a late-night meeting. Each disruptor needs the energy of a small power plant. We've taken care of that, June said. We're using abandoned nuclear facilities where possible, hydroelectric dams in other locations. Suji looked troubled. There's something we haven't told you yet, General. What is it? June asked. The Final Symphony won't just affect the void-borne, Suji explained. At the power levels we need, it will likely disable all complex electronic systems on Earth. Everything? June asked. Almost everything, Ha-eun confirmed. Computers, communications, power grids, even the Nautilus systems will fail. We can protect some basic equipment with special shielding, but not much. June considered this news. You're telling me that if we win, we go back to the Dark Ages. Not quite that far back, Ha-eun said. But yes, we lose modern technology, at least for a while. And if we don't do this? June asked. Then we lose everything, Taeho said from the doorway. He had been listening. The Earth itself could be broken beyond repair. June nodded slowly. Then we have no choice. Send the order to all resistance groups worldwide. Operation Final Symphony begins in 2 weeks. As Ha-eun left the meeting, she stopped by a viewport. Outside, the ocean stretched endlessly under the night sky. Somewhere up there was the void-borne homeworld, a place that had sent its people to destroy hers. Are we doing the right thing? Suji asked, joining her at the window. Yes, Ha-eun said firmly. We're fighting for our survival, for our right to exist. But at what cost? Whatever it takes, Ha-eun replied. Whatever it takes. 14 months after the void-borne first appeared in Earth's skies, Operation Final Symphony was ready. Around the world, humans waited in special shelters. These shelters had sonic dampening fields to protect the people inside from the powerful sound waves that would soon fill the air. General June Kim stood in the command center of the Nautilus. The floating city had moved to the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. Here they hoped they would be safe from the worst effects of what was about to happen. Status report, June ordered. Officers called out reports from around the world. North America disruptor, ready. South America disruptor, ready. Europe disruptor, ready. Africa disruptor, ready. Asia disruptor, ready. Australia disruptor, ready. 6 massive harmony disruptors had been built at key points around the globe. Each was 100 times more powerful than the one that had saved Sanctuary a year ago. Together, they would create a wave of sound that would cover the entire planet. Ghost Team status, June asked. Brigadier Teho Bayek's voice came over the radio. All teams in position, General. We're ready to begin the attacks on the command centers. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. 12 ghost teams would attack Voidborn command centers simultaneously. This would prevent the aliens from detecting the energy buildup of the disruptors until it was too late. Begin Phase 1, June ordered. Around the world, ghost teams moved into action. They wore the symphony suits that Ha-Yun and Suji had created. These suits made them invisible to Voidborn sensors and allowed them to get close to alien facilities. Teho led the team attacking the main Voidborn headquarters in what had once been Tokyo. He and 5 soldiers moved silently through the ruins of the city. Their goal was a tall black tower at the center. Team 3, are you in position? Teho asked over his radio. In position, came the reply. Ready to create diversion. Begin in 30 seconds, Teho ordered. He checked his weapon, a gun that fired sonic pulses instead of bullets. It was designed to disrupt Voidborn nervous systems at close range. 3, 2, 1, go, Teho said. On the far side of the tower, Team 3 set off explosives. The noise drew Voidborn guards away from the main entrance. Teho and his team rushed forward, using their symphony suits to remain undetected. Inside the tower, they moved quickly toward the control center. They met few guards. Most had gone to investigate the explosion. Those they did encounter fell quickly to their sonic weapons. We're at the control center, Teho reported, beginning shutdown of detection systems. Similar scenes played out at 11 other locations around the world. Ghost teams fought their way into Voidborn facilities and disabled their early warning systems. Some teams succeeded easily. Others faced heavy resistance. Team 7 is down, reported an officer on the Nautilus. They couldn't reach their target. Team 4 reports success but heavy casualties, said another. June listened to the reports with a heavy heart. Good people were dying to give humanity this chance. He hoped their sacrifice would not be in vain. In the disruptor control room, Dr. Hyun Park and Suji Choi monitored energy levels. The master harmony disruptor on the Nautilus would coordinate all 6 devices around the world. Timing was critical. Energy levels at 90%, Suji reported. All disruptors are charging properly. Hyun checked her readings. The Voidborn are showing no signs of awareness. The ghost teams have succeeded in blinding them. How much longer? June asked, entering the control room. 10 minutes until full power, Ha-Un replied. June nodded. He looked at the woman who had made all this possible. Ha-Kyun had lost weight in recent weeks. Dark circles under her eyes showed her exhaustion. But there was fire in those eyes too. Determination. I need to speak with you, June said quietly. Alone. They stepped into a small side room. For a moment, they just looked at each other. They had found each other in humanity's darkest hour. They had given each other strength to keep fighting when all seemed lost. Whatever happens today, June said, I want you to know that meeting you was the one good thing to come from this invasion. Hyun smiled. It was a small smile, but genuine. We will win today, she said, and after we will rebuild, together. June took her hand. Words weren't needed. They both knew what they felt, what they hoped for. The moment was broken by Suji's voice over the speaker. All ghost teams have reported in. 8 successful, 4 failed. That's enough, Ha-Un said, returning to the control room. 8 blind spots will give the Voidborn too much confusion to coordinate a response. Teho's voice came over the radio, breathless and strained. Mission complete at Tokyo. Heavy resistance on exit, requesting immediate activation of final. Symphony. All teams begin emergency extraction, June ordered. Prepare for disruptor activation. Around the world, ghost teams fought their way out of Voidborn facilities. Not all would make it. Taiho and what remained of his team ran through the streets of Tokyo, pursued by alien soldiers. We won't reach the extraction point, Taiho reported. Too many Voidborn between us and the helicopter. Don't wait for us. Activate now. June closed his eyes briefly. Tejo had been his friend for years, one of the best soldiers he had ever known. Understood, Brigadier. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. It's been an honor, sir, Tejo replied. Then his radio went silent. In the control room, tension filled the air. Suji sat at the main console, her fingers hovering over the activation sequence. Once a pianist who created beauty through music, she would now unleash a symphony of destruction. All ghost teams either extracted or lost, an officer reported. All shelters report ready, said another. June looked at Ha-Yun, then at Suji. Begin Final Symphony. Suji pressed the sequence of keys. For a moment nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the ship. The master disruptor was activating. Around the world, the 6 massive disruptors began to pulse in harmony. The sound was not something that could be heard with human ears. It was more like a pressure, a vibration that went through everything. The ship's lights flickered, then went out. Emergency lights came on, running on shielded power systems. It's working, Ha-Yun said, checking her instruments. The wave is spreading globally. On screens around the control room, they watched as Voidborn ships fell from the sky like metal rain. Alien soldiers collapsed in the streets. Their communication towers crumbled. The massive mothership that had remained in orbit since the invasion began tried to escape. They watched on radar as it moved away from Earth. Then it stopped. A moment later it exploded as its quantum core destabilized. All Voidborn life signs on Earth are fading, Ha-Yun reported. The nervous system disruption is complete. As the yacht silent symphony swept across the planet, human technology failed too. Communications went down. Power grids collapsed. The digital age ended in a wave of quantum disruption, but humanity survived. 5 years later, Ha-Yun stood on a hill overlooking what people now called New Seoul. The city was being rebuilt slowly. Without advanced technology, construction was harder. But people adapted. They remembered old ways of doing things. They invented new ways. Beside her stood June, now her husband. They had been married 3 years ago in a simple ceremony. Suji had played music on a piano salvaged from the ruins of the old city. The school is almost finished, June said, pointing to a large building near the center of town. Suji will be pleased, Ha-Yun replied. She has 20 students already waiting to learn. Suji had established a school to preserve human knowledge. Without computers to store information, she taught children to memorize important facts, to write them in books, to pass them down through generations. In the clear sky above them, no ships flew. But there were satellites again, simple ones, designed to detect any sign of the Voidborn's return. And in orbit around Earth, silent sentinels waited. Modified harmony disruptors ready to broadcast should the aliens ever come back. Do you think they will return? June asked. It was a question he had asked before. Perhaps, Ha-Yun said. But we will be ready, and they will find us stronger than before. Humanity had learned a crucial lesson. In a universe of noise and chaos, sometimes the most powerful weapon was silence. Earth rebuilt, stronger in its quieter form, forever vigilant, forever changed by the final stand that had marked the end of an alien threat.